I be ashamed? I am so glad. Would you please like and share this evening? Let your friends know that we are back here tonight on that topic that we share with you. Why should I be ashamed? Tonight, my subject, I'm really going to address the shame of it all. The shame of it all. And you know, many people ask, why do you do this every Tuesday at 7 o'clock? I find this subject to be very relevant, very important, very overlooked. Also, as I'm going through this subject, I find the comments are very important. So last week I got a comment from a woman that said, and I thank you for your comments, I thank you for your questions, and I want to ask you tonight to send in your comments, send in your questions, and maybe we can address your issues, and definitely we'll research them if we don't have the answers for them tonight. But she said that on last week, you know, I talked about the love of my mother, even though I experienced so much trauma being her daughter, but through forgiveness and healing, I learned to love her. So someone sent and said it really touched their heart as they listened to my story and listened to some of your stories that I shared on last week, that she looked at her spouse and it touched her, that she's glad that they had recovered, but it reminded her of some things that they had experienced. So these subjects are very relevant to many people, and you may not see them on here, they may not have comments, but you know, it is my heart that it uplifts, it edifies, it brings deliverance, it brings breakthrough. It helps them to know that they're not alone. They're not the only one that have experienced shame. And shame comes in many forms. You can be ashamed of maybe how you live. You can be ashamed of maybe having too many things. But I'm addressing the shame of sexual abuse in any form. And mostly tonight I'll be talking from a child's perspective about sexual child abuse. If you have any questions, send your questions, and please like and share. This subject hits many. Even it lends itself to other problems we face. So know that. Shame. What are you ashamed of? Are you ashamed of anything? Is there anything deep down inside? Something you've done in your past? You know, often in the spiritual realm, they say, if you don't get delivered from your past, it'll hinder your future. It'll kill you. So it's time to set yourself free. You ever wonder why maybe you're so sad, or maybe you're so oppressed, or maybe you're so down and out, or maybe every time you say something out your mouth is something negative. Every time you speak on others, your conversation is long and is negative, because really God created us all different. Some have a lot of energy, some don't, some are laid back, some are energized. But you ever think about maybe some of the things that you say regarding other people, not just because it's your experience, but it's because of what you have experienced? So we have to really search ourselves and watch the things that we say, especially when it comes to bringing embarrassment to other people, bringing shame to other people, putting other people down. So let's dig in a little bit tonight. Are you sharing and liking tonight? And thank you. I like you. And thank you so much for sharing with me. Why are we ashamed? Life starts pure and somehow it changes. You know, we're born babies. The Bible says we're born in sin and shaped in iniquity. But I mean, we're born just pure-hearted. We're born with just a nature to love, a nature to love, we're born with a nature. God created us to connect. But sometimes things get broken, even in our infant stage, even from the womb. Sometimes there's rejection. Rejection is at the root of all of our issues. Every issue that you have, I can tell you, is either rooted by rejection or is rooted in pride. Which pride is still rooted in rejection. I don't want to get off on a tangent though. But it changes shame, it changes our direction. God have planned things for our lives. And sometimes even our parents have great plans, but then something happens. I believe we start off with pureness and clean, and we're so innocent. Children are innocent. They only know what we pour into them. They only know what we allow them to see, hear, taste, and touch, and feel. And we as the adults are charged to protect them, to care for them. But sometimes through parenting, we don't know how ourselves. We're not prepared ourselves. Some of us have children before we are mature enough ourselves to handle children. So innocent. Sexual intimacy is such a personal and private matter. Choices can change life's trajectory. Everyone should have a choice and a voice when it comes to sex. We should choose who and when we want to become sexual and intimate. Let me say this. When just sitting here thinking about babies that has been sexually molested, innocent, maybe never even able to tell. What if the mother, they were sexually molested as an infant, and then maybe that parent left, or that they changed that situation. No one ever told that child, but in that child's memory, they have experiences, their innocence stolen. Sometimes we don't know why our children act the way they do. That's why I'm telling you and I'm teaching you to watch your children. Be careful who you let watch your children. Also, why do sexually abused people become so promiscuous and perverted? You ask, why do people that is sexual abuse become so promiscuous? Some of you call them nasty. Some of you call them ratchet. Some people that come sexual abuse, they're non-sexual, never want anything to do with sex. It can go from one end of the spectrum to the next. Many of them have transit sexual relationship, meaning short relationships. They can't hold on to marriages. They can't hold on to relationships. They can't hold on to sexual experiences because it reminds them of the experience they had, whether it was a bad experience. It's all bad, even if it's constant psychological and you have, how do I word this? An experience, a sexual experience. It's still bad. But we call these people ratchet. You know why? Because it's easier to name and blame instead of us going and seeking understanding or asking the question or dealing with our part. It's easier to just say, when I was coming up, that girl so fast, or that boy's so managed, or that girl's a freak, or that boy's a freak. You know, it's easier to name call opposed to go do research, get a dictionary, go find out what is the root of the issue. A lot of times people that are sexual abused become promiscuous promiscuous because they have lost their sense of value. Something has been taken away. To you, it may be just a vagina or a penis. But to that person, it is their whole man, that whole woman, that whole child, that whole girl, that whole boy. To them, it is their being. It's more than, it's mental, it's physical, it's spiritual. It is a deep-rooted impartation that was snatched, that was put that on a person that they didn't ask for. And so you have all this psychological issues going back and forth, telling you that it's okay, telling you something's wrong with you, telling you you're not valuable. Especially, okay, like for me, I had a sense of pride in myself when I talked about last week how my mother used to do my hair and tell me that I was pretty. So I had a lot of pride in myself. I thought, that I was just gonna wait on sex, wait to get married, wait of a man of my choice, develop a sense of who I was and what I wanted. And when the abuse happened, it changed the trajectory of my plan, of the way I seen things. I lost something. I lost something in the experience, and I lost something in the transitioning when I began to tell the intimate, secret details of the situation. Anything to let me know that I was okay, to let me know that you're still worth something. I think a lot of times you feel like you'll never be worth anything again, and you don't know. And then when you have people on the sidelines that has never had an experience, the first thing they say, oh, she's probably gonna be a freak, or she's probably gonna be this. Oh, ain't nothing to those kind of girls or those guys. That he just go around with everybody. And some things that you all have said that may have a different kind of strength, it also makes that person feel so devalued. And oftentimes, when you have been abused, it seems like you lose a sense of value, and then people continue to come after you. So, you're not ratchet. I come to tell you, you're not ratchet. You're not nasty. You're not unvaluable. You're not dirty. You're not filthy. You are the righteousness of God. You are well, and you can be well. You are worthy of great things. You are worthy of a newness of life. You are worthy of healing. You're worthy of restoration. And you may need to get some therapy. You may need to just really allow yourself to be saturated with good news, saturated with great impartation, restoration, like I did. Allow yourself some newness of life. Sometimes they have unselective sexual partners, indiscriminate, casual sex. Our approaches are wrong, how we go about sex. Sometimes you see people that have been abused, and not everybody, but we're just talking about sometimes you'll see their clothing are revealing, wanting all this attention, or figure this is how you do it. This is what it takes to, and we get love, lust, sex, intimacy. We get it really confused, because you figure the first person that you love is your parent, and then it's the person that you trust, because love's supposed to be filled with respect and trust. And so oftentimes, especially if it's a parent or it's a close relative, you think that they love you until you have this bad experience. So tonight, I'm just going to read a little bit. Do you have any questions tonight? I'm going to read a little bit about my book, Why Should I Be Ashamed? If you don't have your copy, please get your copy. Let me know. If you need the information, we'll have it up there for you. And it's on my page, or we'll make sure that it's on my page. So you can get a copy, because I would love for you to read along. So I'm getting ready to read. Hi, Tony. I'm getting ready to read chapter 10 on page 109. Why should I be ashamed? What is shame? Now, shame is different from guilt. Let's be clear. Shame is totally shame. There's innocence when I'm talking about this kind of shame. The dictionary describes it as a painful feeling arising from the consciousness of something dishonorable or improper. For many years, I carried the burden of shame. I was in pain. I'd been dishonored, and what had happened to me was inexcusable. I was ashamed. How could I begin to deal with my internal hurt when my abuser seemed to escape all he had done? What bothers you most about sexual abuse? You know, as I'm reading this, how can I begin to deal with internal hurt? A lot of times, I notice that some people don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about it, and you know, that's them, because they've learned to put it under the rug. I notice in a lot of cultures, when I've dealt with different cultures, they may talk about it one time, they address it one time, Pastor Calvert, and then it's like, I don't want to talk about it no more, I'm over it. And it's almost like they snap on you. It's like, shut the door. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to read your book. I am on somewhere in my life. I am above it now. I am over it. I think that's, if you want to tell yourself, if you haven't dealt with it, then you're not over it. And you can use all your cover up, your images to say that it's okay, but how you know that you're over it is when you can deal with it, when you can face it, when you can hear someone else talk about it. I'm not saying that every time I have a tea party, I want to talk about this. I don't. Every time I go out to dinner with my husband, I don't talk about this. Every Christmas and Thanksgiving and every celebration, we don't talk about this. There are some times we do talk about it. And I have had one of my loved ones to call me and say, may I talk about this today? May I ask some questions? And I can say, not today. And there is days when I say, not today, I don't want to go there. And there are days when I say, yes, can we talk about it on Tuesday? I'll be more prepared. Because I don't need my emotions jerked around and I'm not going to get into mood swings because you decided that this is something you want to talk about. So I understand that sometimes you don't want to talk about your hurts or your experiences. But if you do, we are available here for you to talk, to chat. Like I said, if you like to, we can do a Zoom meeting. I thank my mom, Joanne, for always coming in, checking on me, see what we're doing here at 7 o'clock. I appreciate you, Mom Joanne. I appreciate all of my friends. I can't see who's on right now. Pastor will let me see later on. But I just want to thank you once again for that. Those of you that know this subject is relevant. There's many subjects that we're talking about in the land, and this just happened to be the one that burdens my heart. This is the burden that I carry, and I give it to the Lord, and then I try to research and listen to hear what's going on in the atmosphere with our children, with our women, with our men that is dealing with this issue, especially tonight, dealing with shame. So I'm gonna share with you a part of some of the experience that I had to deal with on a daily basis in this house with this person. On page 48, it says, after Loss moved in with us, He spent the day walking back and forth through the house as if he were the warden of a small jail cell. He had been in prison, so he was familiar, and he had the mindset of what had happened to him. He had somehow transformed our household in that same mental state that he was in. So he'd walk, we'd hear his footsteps back and forth. And it was kind of like a torment. It was very fearful for us as children. And for those of you that say you would have did this, you would have did that, I'm telling you, you probably wouldn't have, because we were conditioned from this age up. You know, either they gain your trust or they'll release a certain amount of fear in your heart. On Saturday mornings, he didn't let us sleep in. He would break in our room, wake up, get up, and just mean and harsh, dominating, controlling, mad at whatever he was mad at, as if we didn't have any power, taking advantage of us. He got up early in the morning and yelled for us to get up and clean up the apartment. While Laus was busy walking around the apartment, he made frequent trips into our bedrooms. He was always sneaking around and hiding in the closet, transforming himself like a chameleon underneath the dirty clothing, pretending to be a concerned father, trying to catch us misbehaving. One day he came in our room and we saw him. Then he pretended to leave and slammed the door. I turned to my sister and said, I hate him. When I lifted my head up out of the bed, Laus was standing there. He had only pretended to leave the room. He was always doing something sneaky and undermined, just, coming through places, and you would see him peeping in the bathroom, when you think about being in your own household, do you think about covering up a peephole in your bathroom? I didn't know that's what he was doing until later on. I was so scared and unsure what could happen to me after those words flew loosely right out of my mouth, off of my lips. I was afraid because by this time I knew that Laus was not to be disrespected by any of us. He rolled his eyes at me and walked out of the room. And I was to get a whooping for that. Laus was inappropriate, and most of the time he spent the day commanding and controlling us. His favorite thing to do was to sit on the couch enforcing fear into all of our hearts. When we tried to watch television, he would say things like, I got to teach you how to kiss. I remember just getting up sometimes just leaving. Who says that? I was repulsed at the thought. Who teaches their daughters such a thing? Laus told me over and over again that I was going to be a bulldagger because I wasn't having sex with him or anyone else. He would repeatedly say, I am the chief, you dig. He would say that to everyone. I'm the chief. He's the boss. And one day he slipped and said, I got my reputation from beating up drunk men and women. He beat up drunk men and women. So he's always only beat up people or dominated where he had advantage. That was his power quote, I'm the chief, you dig, often used when he wanted to threaten us or our mother. When we became teenagers, he changed his quote to, if I go to jail, it would be for murder. If I go to jail again, it would be for murder or statutory rape. If I go back to jail, it would be for murder or statutory rape. I had no idea what statutory rape meant. I had no clue of what statutory rape meant. When I lived in Detroit, nobody talked about that. Nobody walked around the house saying those kind of things. But me, with my inquisitive self, went and got a dictionary and looked up what statutory rape meant. When I found out that statutory rape meant sex with a minor, I was petrified. Who could that minor be? I thought that the definition guaranteed that I was going to be raped. He had been planning from the day one, and he spoke it, and it came to pass. I was shocked that my mother would allow him to say such a thing in her presence. She sat there as if he had not said a word. My mother, the type of beatings that she experienced, I've never seen anything like it since that day, since those days, and thank God. The atmosphere he created was not fit for any normal person and was surely unfit for a child. Laos was just as inappropriate with our friends as he was with us. He made lewd attempts, groping their behinds and even touching their breasts. He was out of control. I remember one of the neighbors said she wasn't going to tell her husband. She said, because if I tell my husband what he's done, she said he would kill him. Another one of my friends, I remember her just coming over to visit me, and she was just dodging him all out the kitchen, and she just had to run out the house. He was out of control, and it was obvious that he felt invincible. None of my friends ever reported to their parents what Laos did. I am sure they were just as afraid of him as we were. We were all dealing with some form of dysfunction in our respective homes in the neighborhoods that we lived in. Sexual abuse and incest were very prevalent, and I'm sure they were grateful to get away from Laos without actually having been raped. So when you look at the shame of it, the shame was deep-rooted. It started, I don't know if it was shock first or shame first, but it was so deep-rooted in us as we approach life and as we try to get through life. So let me say, the next time you hear about somebody that may not carry themselves in the respectful way that you do or the respectful way that you think they should, think again about why the behavior, the root of the behavior, what has happened. And maybe you can speak to that. Maybe you can sit down with him or her and talk to them about whatever has happened, whether they want to share it or not, but letting people know that they are valuable. I have come into the knowledge to know that I am valuable, and I'm constantly always trying to, before I speak to people, speak to them about their worth and their value, not so much pointing out their issues, because we got some issues. I deal with people every day, and I just be looking, they have issues. I talk to people, they have issues, but I'm not always pointing out their issues. I'm trying to point out their strength and build on their strength, because if they ever find out their worth, then they can get through some of their issues. So that's why I talk about this subject tonight. That's why I talked about the shame of it all. It is, I've heard so many women that have experienced it, they said it was the most embarrassing thing. And it doesn't matter if it was your father, your friend, your sister, your brother. It was it just was not. It was not a good experience. It had no value. Number one, sexual child abuse has been proposed to influence both women, adult sexual risk behaviors, adult sexual risk behaviors, the quality of their intimate relationships. Most of us oftentimes don't know who to choose. We're either looking for something to dominate so they can fight off monsters, or we're looking for someone that we can control so we'll never be manipulated. I see women that cover themselves up with their weight, or they'll cover themselves up with baggy clothing. We don't know how to choose valuable things, and sometimes we may be overextended in outward appearance, where there be too much of this or too much of that. I'm not counting, because I don't have a right to. I don't know your purpose. I don't know why Some people's nails wrap around in their hands. Sometimes these things, we're looking outward, but they're protectors. Our attitudes, when you find people always angry, mad, ready to fight, boisterous, prideful, trying to build themselves up, showing themselves as more than what they are, always bullies. Bullies, the root is rejection. Somebody pushed them down, so they're going to push somebody else down. Our attitudes are framed by sexual abuse, whether we're silent or whether we're warriors. Oftentimes, sexual abuse people, you'll see some of these traits. You see them in many people, but I'm just talking about people that has been sexual abused. I've seen the anger, because the root of it is shame. I'm so mad at what you did. I'm so angry at how I had to live. Even as a child, I was so ashamed to go to school the next day. Are you kidding me? I was so ashamed. I thought everybody knew what I knew. The loud voice that was in my head, I thought everybody knew. What are you ashamed of? Are we ashamed because the sense of not pride, but dignity? I was supposed to have dignity. I was supposed to get up and go to school and have dignity and feel good about myself. But here I am, all shrunk in and almost like a turtle just hiding. But I had to go to school anyway. And a lot of you have to face life every day. Face it again. Show up again. Go to your jobs and face things in silence and be a big girl or be the man with all that pain. So be careful when you're dealing with people that have attitudes and have anger, especially when you first meet them. You know they were like that. It's rooted in somewhere. It doesn't always have to do with you or me. And that's the truth of the matter. And that's what I come to knowledge. When you're mad and when you're doing the wrong thing, it has nothing to do with me. It has all to do with you. Number 2. Sexual child abuse, CSA, has been associated with a variety of risky sexual behaviors. Yes, call it what you want to. We take risk because we have no value, no sense of worth. And it's easy for you to judge and say, well, if you've been mistreated like that, it looked like you would think that you're something. But I have watched women that have been abused, and you ask them, why you do it? I don't know. They just do it. I've had women to tell me, a couple of women have told me they have been intimate, and these were not prostitutes per se. I'm sure they might have got a coin here and there, but they told me they were intimate with over 1,000 men. 1,000? I said, honey, don't tell anyone else that ever, unless it's a therapy. But I don't even know if a therapist can handle. What does it mean to be a young, beautiful woman? This one of them wasn't even 40. And she said over 1,000 with beautiful figure, beautiful face. And when men would see her, they think she just give herself, it didn't cost anything. Over 1,000 men, the pain of it, the hurt. And it takes two. While we calling her fast and nasty and gross, it takes two. And the only thing I could say to her at that time is listen to her story, not judge her, and I continue to tell her her worth, continue to let her know that she's better than that she has to find it within herself. She's got to find her way out of that cave, out of that darkness. That's a deep, dark, sad place to not care about your body, your worth, about catching diseases, about what you transmit, about having babies, who fathers your children. All of it can come out of pain. Associated with indicators of sexual risk taking in adulthood, including multiple sexual partners, higher incidence of sexual transmitted infections. And you know, when people be engaged, and sometimes they don't even ask questions. They don't even ask about HIV. They don't even ask about, it's just my mind, I'm mad, it's not worth it, there's no value, let's get busy, let's just do it. And I come to tell you tonight that you are so much more valuable. Stop and think. I know that you want to be loved. We were created to love, but you have to wait. There's someone to love you. I felt pretty on the outside, but not worthy on the inside. I felt so unworthy. And I had to go somewhere and sit down and not try to figure out tit for tat, how am I going to do this? And wait until God sent me someone that can love me with my flaws, with my issues, and I could love them back. You not only do you need to be lovable, but you need to know how to love in return and be at peace with yourself. And that's a whole nother subject. So the aftermath of sexual child abuse cannot contend with the shame of it all. It's a lot of shame that comes with it. And I have a quote that I would like to share with you all tonight from Jean McElvany. She says, you can recognize survivors of abuse by their courage. It takes courage for you all to address your issues and talk about them and share with them. Heal your shame. It takes courage. When silence is so very inviting, they step forward and share their truth so others know that they're not alone. And that's why I tell you what I tell you tonight. It takes courage to do what we are here doing. It takes lots of courage because people's perspective after you tell your story, they can either respect it, reject it, treat you strange, belittle your story, ignore your story, act like it's irrelevant or unimportant. But we all have to have the right motive of why we do what we do. And I want you to know that you're not alone and that you did not create the song, but you can dance to a new song. Once again, thank you so much for listening tonight. I'm asking you to make sure that you get a copy of my book. And if you'd like to earn a copy of my book, you can send in a question tonight, and I will gladly get a book to you. Never be ashamed of your pain. That's why we go to the hospital and we admit that we have an issue. And there is restoration and healing. You're worth it. Find your value. Be honest with yourself. And live your best life. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Share and like. Okay, I just got some feedback. I see Sheila's on and she says, yes, They dress in baggy clothes to cover. Yeah, they can go from one extreme. Either they're too revealing and you see everything, or they're cover up. So you're right about that. And so we should never judge a book by its cover, so to speak. Amber Reed, thank you for watching. I love your ministry. I need to get your book. Yes, Amber, I will get back with you shortly. Thank you, Amber. Share and like, you guys. Okay, there's Cousin Eunice. Amber says the struggle of finding love after abuse. Yes, so because you have to love yourself. It has to start within, with your value. And once you know that you find your value, then you can be open to love again. Cousin Yvonne, like to get a copy of your book, cuz yes, that's what I want to hear. Thank you. I'm going to get back with you all quickly. Cousin Eunice, so we got to get her back on here because she was phenomenal and we want to hear what she has to say. Eunice says that the abuser's acknowledgement, their role in the abuse, frees the abused person child to be authentic. When the abuser don't acknowledge, I felt the need to tell my truth to reclaim my essence. And when I wasn't believed, I was devastated. I pray for children who are sheltered at home with their abuser. Yes, it is a crime, and it is sad. And what is even more sad, cousin, is when you have a mother there and you look into her with those eyes of innocence to protect you, to do something, and even in us, even in our weakness, there is rage. There's a little fight in us that says, do something. I don't want to tell you what I was thinking, but let's do something. And everybody is looking, and they know when the lights go out, that child is in trouble. Or when the mother goes to the store, whatever the lights out is in that situation. Yes. And you also talked about when an abuser admitted and apologized, it does bring breakthrough. But some people will never admit it. Some people's going to take it to their grave. They don't want to pay. But I believe that God is going to recompense every evil that is done against the unprotected person or child. Hi, daughter Rebecca. Say good stuff, Mama. Yes. I thank you. Thank you for watching. All of you, thank you for watching. And that's it for tonight. So, Amber and Yvonne, I'll get you the information so you can get your copy of the book, and I will sign it for you also. I'll get it to you in the mail tomorrow. But listen, God bless you. I appreciate everyone for watching, and I'm looking forward to the comments, to the questions, and I'm looking forward to hearing some people that this book brings breakthrough, that it makes them get back in charge. It gets them to, like Cousin Eunice says, to the essence, and to be that authentic person, and to reclaim her essence, even when she wasn't believed and devastated. Because you got to know in your mind, it don't nobody know. Like people always say, only God knows the truth. But you know. And I believe that oftentimes we have those connections, and you can feel the connections. Sometimes, Cousin Eunice, I can feel the connection of people's silence. When they're so silent and they're so cold, and I can sense, the hurt or the secretness of it all. So, ladies, have a great week. I'll look forward to hear from you next week, and we shall continue to talk about this subject, and we shall continue to get our freedom and to get our release and to get the essence of who we are and who we were ordained and purposed to be through it all. And I see greatness in all of you women. I see greatness. It's a beautiful thing, even when I think about my cousin Eunice. When you look at her, you don't see even the stench, the smell, you don't see it. Even the way she articulates her well-being, you don't see it. That we have to tell our story. You no longer can see the sadness of it on the outward. It looked like, and I know the half has not been told. You can't put it all in a book, but you don't see it. All I see is the beauty and the strength and the courage that this woman has. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful tonight for everyone. So God bless you, and thank you for watching, share, and like. I'm also working on a YouTube channel, just trying to promote freedom to us all. Thank you for joining us.